Hey guys, my name is Donnie and welcome back to my channel. In the last video I made these bucks for the fenders for the little Messerschmitt that I'm building or rebuilding, and in this video I'm going to attempt to make some aluminium fenders using these bucks as templates and my English wheel and a couple of basic hand tools. So let's get going. Okay guys, so basically the first thing that I did was I took some brown paper and I put it on my buck and I just held it down with some magnets to get the form that I'm going to be needing for my aluminium fenders, and I then cut it out and I used this paper as a shape and I cut out a piece of aluminium that needs to go there. Now the thing that needs to happen with that piece of flat aluminium is it needs to bend over in the front here, and for that to happen you need to shrink the front part of that aluminium so that it can form and shape the fender. Over here also it's almost flat like that, so if you put the aluminium down like this it might just fit, but it's still got a bit of a curvature like that, but the biggest curvature is in the front. And what we need to do now is we need to shape that piece of aluminium or shrink this front part over here and basically achieve this effect that I've got here with the piece of brown paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my table and I'll show you with a piece of offcut how I intend on shrinking this aluminium to start making a fender. Okay guys, so using this piece of offcut aluminium, I'm going to try my best to show you the basic principles that I'm going to be using to forming these fenders. Let's say that this part is going to become the fender and you need to bend or shrink the front part over so that it can go to where the wheel wells are. What needs to be done is you need to make a couple of creases in the aluminium as you would with a piece of paper, and then just fold them in over there, and effectively the same thing happens with this piece of aluminium as happened with that brown piece of paper that I showed you. It just creases in and the whole thing folds down. So what I've done is I've made this handy little tucking fork, I think is the right word, and basically I'm going to be using this tucking fork to make the creases to look the same as that piece of brown paper did. So I just put it in here, and you can put this tucking fork in your vise for a more steady grip, and I'm just going to use it by hand to show you what I mean, what's going to happen. So you just basically make a crease like this, and straight away you see this part starts shrinking. I can just make a couple more. So look at this guys, it's already shrinking down. And I'm trying to do this and also minding the camera at the same time. Right. So now I've made my creases and already it's folding over and starting to look like what could be a very low resolution fender. What we need to do now is fold these creases or smush them into each other, actually making this one shorter. So basically you want that crease and you want to press it into each other so that it will become round, making this piece of aluminium a little bit thicker, but effectively pushing it into itself and making the length from here to here shorter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting it on my piece of rubber mat. The rubber mat helps keeping it in place instead of it just popping out like that. The rubber mat keeps it in its spot, and now I'm going to start pushing it into each other. And I'm using this little cheap ass mallet, and I want to hit this crease in such a way that it starts folding into itself. If you're going to hit on the whole length of it, it's not going to pop out, but if you start hitting it small pieces at a time, it'll keep itself close to itself and then start shrinking. So let's do that quickly. So basically I'm just folding this thing into itself. Obviously it is popping out a little bit, but this is a process that's going to have to be taken many times to fold this part over properly. So let me just do that one as well. And also, if you do this on a log that's got a rounded inside, it's also much more efficient. But I've got this piece of rubber, I'm going to work on that. So basically just like that. And there we go. Now if you look at this part, you'll find that it's already bent over quite a lot. And if you've measured from here to here, you'll find that it is already probably a centimeter closer to itself. I just want to just level this out a little bit. And I want to make some more creases. Using my little tucking tool, I'm going to make a couple more creases in here just for demonstration purposes. And like I said, this needs to actually happen many times when you're making a part like this. And I'm going to tuck it into itself and flatten it out, and then I'm going to put it on the English wheel and we can see what kind of results we've got there. Guys, another pro tip is to not try and make your creases too large, because if you want to fold it down and it starts folding over on itself, it will crack, and that will cause a tear in your aluminium, and basically gonna either have to fill it up again or you're gonna have to throw that piece away. So let's just shrink these down with my hammer, and now I'm gonna take it to the English wheel and we can finish it off. See what kind of results we've got there. Now let's take it to the English wheel and see if we can flatten this thing out. Right guys, at my English wheel I'm going to flatten this out. In my opinion, an English wheel is nothing more than a very efficient hammer and doily. You can get the same results with a hammer and doily. This is just much faster with some better results. Guys, I also made this English wheel myself. It's been giving me a lot of good results in the last couple of years. I don't use it often enough, and I don't do this often enough, so I'm as excited as you guys are in doing this as a project. Okay guys, so as you can see, This part shrunk even more with the second pass, and this is basically what I'm going to be doing to make these fenders. This is my best effort at explaining what I need to do. So it's just a question of manipulating this metal and shrinking it and stretching it where it needs to, so that I can make the fenders. And like I said, I don't do this very often, so this is going to also be a trial and error process for myself, so it might take a little time, but hopefully by the end of this video I'm going to have a set of nice aluminum fenders for the Messerschmitt. So let's do it. Guys, I just want to show you one more thing that's quite interesting about an English wheel. If you want to have a very steep curve, you don't necessarily have to use your doily with a very rounded edge. You can use a rather flat one, because when you're working with your part in your English wheel and you fold it and you manipulate your piece of metal, it nearly seems to be flat. And then when you work with a rather shallow doily, it works not rather easily. And an interesting thing that happens with your part is when you put it into position, it basically automatically then folds to where it needs to be. So you don't have to work a part in its position, but at least most of the time, and then have to have a doily that is rounded like this. You can just fold it flat like that and easily work your part, and then when you pull it back into position, it miraculously starts to form the shape that you're looking for. Let's do it. Cool guys, I feel like this panel is starting to look like something. I still got a lot of fine tuning to do on this panel, but it's really starting to fit rather nicely. It's touching everywhere on my back, almost everywhere, and I think with a little bit of fine tuning, I'm gonna get this thing to look perfect. But I think before I continue with this one, I want to start with that one so that I can finish them both off at the same time, and then just do a reference between the two so that they can look exactly the same to each other. So let's do that quickly. Alright guys, there we go. I have finished rolling these fenders on the English wheel, and I must tell you, it is looking pretty damn good. Not bad. I think I reckon I'll still be rolling this one on the English wheel just once or twice, because there's a bit of an inconsistency there. But apart from that, what is most important is that they look very much similar, and that they are symmetric. Now the thing is, what I'm going to do next is I will be trimming this part off over here, just about there. I'll be trimming it more or less over there, and then I'm going to be folding it over on both sides so that I'll have a spot where I can mount it on this body. So I need to basically fold this part over on that line, so I need to trim it off and fold it over and shrink it in position. That will add strength to this fender, and also that's going to be the way it will be mounting on this body. So I'm going to be doing that, and after that I will be working on these edges to trim them off and fold them over to make them look nice and pretty. So yes, let's do that. Right guys, I just want to try and show you how I intend on folding this piece of aluminium over with this piece of offcut, and how I'm going to shrink it. So basically, if that is the line that I intend on folding, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my vice grip, my table grip, and then just gently crease it like so. I'll show you quickly. I'm just going to put it in the grip and then just gently crease it along the edge. I'm going to do that with that part over there, so that it's got a crease in my aluminium. Just do this a little bit more. So if you've got a bead roller, it'll be much easier to do, but I'm going to be doing it like so. And then I'm going to be using my original template and draw a line on this table that represents the curvature of my panel. And what I'm going to do then is I'll be using this tucking fork to just put some creases in this piece over here, and then it'll effectively start curving this piece of metal in position. So let me just show you quickly What I mean by that, if I put a little crease in here and a little crease in here, you'll see that basically what's happening is this panel is starting to twist. So I'm going to be doing that throughout the original panel, the panel I'm going to be, or the real fender. So now it's twisted like this, and now I can flatten it off with this hammer and just double check on my pattern that I've drawn on this table. I'm going to use this table itself to just basically shrink down this aluminium. I'll show you quickly a close-up. So guys, let's say this is the line that I want to follow, and this one is way more curved than that line. Then I can just start shrinking this aluminium. As I hit it down, it does expand a little bit. But I'm going to do this a couple of times. So just shrinking it down, and as I go, I'll just double check this line, and now basically flatten it out. I'm going to do that, obviously spend some more time to flatten it out properly, but as you can see, it's already starting to make a curve, and then I can use my tucking tool once again and tuck it once more and flatten it down, and do that as many times as I need until I get the curvature that I'm looking for. What I'll also be doing just to finish this line off properly, I was just going to use a piece of steel that I'm going to use as a doily and just hammer it down until I get the right lines, and tuck it once again, hammer it down, tuck it again until the curvature matches exactly what my stencil says it must. So let's give that a go. Right guys, now it's really starting to look like something. The last step that I'm going to take in these fenders before I can start mounting them is I need to roll a bead on the perimeter of these panels just to give it some rigidity and also just finish it off. I could theoretically just fold over the aluminium and give it some strength, but if I do a bead inside of this perimeter, it's going to be much stronger. So I'm going to show you with a piece of offcut in a second how I'm planning on doing that. Right guys, so I'm going to attempt to do my bead roll with this wire, and basically I'm going to shape this wire in the perimeter of my fender, and then I'm going to be rolling the aluminium over this wire. And I want to show you with this piece of offcut what I mean by that. Say this is the upper perimeter of the fender, and so I'm going to bend it with these cheap pliers, and I'll just give it a bend right around the perimeter of my fender, and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to take my bead, I'm going to insert it in there, and then I'm going to fold it over with the hammer if that is at all possible. So I'll just hold it in place with this doily and then just start folding it over and attempt to keep the wire in that bead. So this is basically what we do. Okay, so there we go, guys. Just finish it off a little bit, set it down, and with this bead, if I do that throughout the perimeter of that fender, it's going to be extremely strong and not be able to bend and warp and tear. So let's do that quickly. Guys, look at that. Wook, wook, wook. Looking awesome, man. I like it, I like it. I think this came out quite spectacularly. I love it, I love it. It is always so satisfying for me to make something like this from scratch. To think that it was just a piece of aluminium and now it looks like a fender. It is super sturdy and it looks like it belongs here. I think you'll have a hard time distinguishing the original part from this one. It's really looking nice. I just got it on there very loosely just to check, but yes, they are very symmetric. I like it. And guys, on that note, I just want to say that when I set out to start my YouTube channel, I thought, what was the goal behind my whole channel? And obviously, apart from becoming a YouTube star, the reason why I got this channel running is not so much to teach, because there are many people out there that are much better teachers than I am when fabricating or making things, but more to inspire, just to show you guys that with a couple of basic hand tools, obviously sometimes you need some more specialized tools, you can basically do anything. You can work on a car, you can make some body parts, you can do mechanical work, spray painting, upholstery, whatever you'd like. It really is in anyone's ability to do these kinds of things. I'm not special or smart, I just love what I do, and I'm sure that there's a couple of you guys out there that also love this kind of stuff. And like I said, if there's one reason why I got this channel running, it is to inspire. And let me tell you, sometimes I look at these things and I feel humbled that I'm in a position to do this kind of stuff. I love it a lot, and I hope that it will at least just maybe inspire you if you've got a project that you want to do or start with, or something that you dream of doing. It can be done. Anyone can do it. If I can do it, you can do it too. Just don't stop until it's done. That's what I always say. Anyways, guys, I'll see you next week, and so that we can continue with this little Messerschmitt. Cheers!